Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, and if you have been here before, we are having Coffee and Headlines. As always, we have a special guest today. If this is the first time that you join us, we get together every morning to exchange headlines, coffee, and news from near and far. It is always a pleasure to see new faces around here. So if you're new, please feel free to type the word new in your comments so that we can welcome you accordingly. That was so weird. Oh, it's okay. I think we're back. I'm very sorry. We had a little bit of a technical meltdown, but I hope that you're all still here. Um, yes, broadcast interrupted, Ellen. I'm really sorry about that. I hope that everybody is with us. As I was saying before, this is Coffee and Headlines, and today we're going to wait on the headlines because we have a very special guest with us. She is the person behind this new Vallarta Pride, virtual Pride celebration. She is the mother of two. She is from Canada. She is happily married, and I think she had no idea what she was getting herself into. And this is what we're going to find out all about today. And her name is Mandy. Mandy, it's so nice to see you today.
Hello.
How are things
Thank
going?
you. Thanks for having me this morning.
Where in Canada are you?
I am just outside of Edmonton, Alberta. So basically, I don't know, what would it be? 8 hours north of Montana.
Now,
Wait, everybody knows about Calgary Stampede, so I'm not there.
okay, there you go. Now, did you have any idea this would blossom into such a huge, wonderful thing?
I had an idea it was going to be a wonderful thing. I had no idea it was going to blossom, as you say, the way that it did. It grew exponentially. That's a word we've been throwing around in this world lately, but it has grown like that. Like, what has it been? I think a week. And yeah, a week today since like we created a page and all of that. And it's mind blowing. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was really going to be seen in ways of support from businesses or from the community. And yeah, I'm super happy, blown away.
So let's rewind the tape a little bit because clearly, I mean, you and I have had a little bit of a conversation prior to this. You are doing this just because you are a PV fan, fundamentally, correct?
Yes.
How did
Yeah.
how did your love affair
Who
with
isn't?
when did you fall in love with Puerto Vallarta?
Let's see. I started coming to Puerto Vallarta in 2008. And then I really started coming to Puerto Vallarta outside of what I call tourism and moving into being a traveler. So no longer at the big chain hotels, that sort of thing. And I was mostly staying in Cinco de Diciembre or in Zona Romantica since about 2012. And yeah, that's where we go for family holidays. That's where we got married. That's where we spend all of our free time.
So let's
Yeah.
let's also go back to the moment in which you decided I want to do something for the LGBT community because what I gather is what you may have had in mind originally was not necessarily what this has blossomed into, correct? What was your original intention?
Right. My original intention was to create a live, the same thing, a group that was able to come on live stream from the feed of, one solidarity kind of area, whatever that word is I'm looking for. But it was for, 2 nights, 3 days, spend the weekend. And it quickly became too much for one weekend. So we moved the dates, extended it for a full week, and then it started to really pick up steam. So what I had originally intended, I thought there'd be maybe like 15 of the little local stores, bars, restaurants that might want to be involved. And I thought I was going to have to dig in my heels and convince them. That was not the case.
That was not the case. So you've gotten a huge response. Just to make sure that we clarify for people that are not up to speed, what, and correct me if I'm wrong, what virtual gay pride is about is providing an opportunity for anyone that is involved with the LGBT community to get a slot, a specific slot within a schedule, and stream live from the official group page for free
Yes.
to benefit
Yes.
whatever their own charity is of choice. And let's see if I've done my
It
homework
can
right.
be it can be for, let's say, for instance, a small, corner bar that serves the LGBTQ community wants to stream on there, and they can ask for tips for the employees. They can ask for tips for, improvements or simply paying the rent. Or if a business chooses or a performer chooses, they can also dedicate their performance and ask for funds for a charity, recognized, organized charity, or like a GoFundMe page or something like that.
So you and the organizing committee or the organizers don't really even touch the money, correct? I mean, every performer or every
No.
person that contributes with something gets to decide where the money goes, and this is not a money maker for anyone. This is just a labor of love,
Oh,
correct?
entirely. We don't, there's no money being handled by me at all. Please don't. I'm no good at it. Just keep it. If you want to kind of take it into the context of what we're doing, essentially, I created the group. I was gifted some generous people giving their time that came on board. Everybody is on the kind of back end of things behind the scenes is totally volunteer based and working just out of kindness and love of the community.
Now, from what I hear, and again, I have to do my homework when it comes to doing interviews and things like that. You and I have something in common, and it's not that we both watch Friends, it's something else. You and I had to learn how to live stream as a way to complement our businesses. As I understand, you
Yeah.
have a yoga practice. I was doing a nice website with articles for the local English speaking community. And when the pandemic came to pass, or when the pandemic started, I figured, okay, this is the time to either launch myself into this frightening but very exciting abyss, or not. So you tell me
Yep.
about your experience learning technology.
Uh, that's an ongoing trudge through the world
Oh,
of
yes.
technology. I'm not savvy at all. I certainly can't give advice, but I can give you a little bit of history, I guess, on how this came to be. When Canada, or sorry, when the world declared a pandemic, I'm a yoga teacher. I own a yoga retreat company, and I teach studio classes, as well as doing teacher trainings. When the pandemic came on, I was actually traveling in the United States with my daughter, and we essentially got a little bit stuck. Flights were unable to change. We had just arrived on March 11th into Arizona, and we quickly decided that we were just going to have to stay put for the week until we could get our original flight home, so on and so forth. It was then released from Canada. Anybody returning from over the border would need to self-quarantine for 14 days. So already I knew that I was going to be 3 weeks without being able to teach my students. And so immediately I'm like, okay, well, how can I reach them? And so I created, which was always my plan, it just had to be expedited very quickly. I created an online studio for traveling yogi retreats. And
So
it's just been going strong since.
that's really wonderful. So let's talk about gay pride for a second. Gay pride means a lot of
Sure.
things to a lot of people. I can speak from my personal experience, having lived in the United States for close to 2 decades, that pride in my life has meant a lot of things. from the great dancers, the great headliners, the great performances, et cetera, to all kinds of other types of cultural expressions like film festivals, reading groups,
Mhm.
panel discussions, health related things that, for one reason or another, this is not about finger pointing, has been missing in Puerto Vallarta. I don't know if it is a sign of times are changing or if this is an opportunity of brainstorming. And I'd like to invite you to have a little exercise with me in terms of, because I think one of the things that we try to do here at Coffee and Headlines is just share oodles of empowerment to anybody that
Yeah.
pays any time, that spends any time with us here. So
Mhm.
what kind of really awesome, out of the wall, off the charts things are you thinking of that could and should happen?
Okay. So many. So that's really, and that's probably, I did get a question one time earlier this week, like, who put you in charge of this? And not to change topic, but like, well, I guess I did. And that's because I really am a creative. I'm an idea person. I can't get the things done that I want to get done without the team that's kind of helping me. But
Mhm.
some of the ideas that I've had was to have a physician or medical doctor be talking about sexual health, to have a mental health professional, having even, and I'm not sure how that will come about yet, if it's going to be a TED Talk style thing or maybe like a call in show. Let's see, there's cooking demonstrations, there's fashion shows, there is drag shows and singers and performances. Oh, so many.
let me let me
There, yeah.
let me fill in some blanks. Not that you don't have them all, but I mean, my personal experience doing Coffee and Headlines for a little bit over a month, and I am so grateful to all the people that keep watching, is that, and this is hopefully a message for the people that are watching that are thinking, how could I be part of this event? We often take for granted the power of a good story. I mean, if there
Mm-hmm.
was a nonprofit organization leader that decided, I'm just going to go online, or it could be a bar owner,
Yeah.
or it could be a bookstore owner, or it could be a lesbian who came here because she was not accepted by her family. I mean, it could be a number of things. Just getting in front
We
of the
need
camera
storytelling.
and telling stories about why you're here and how you contribute to the community, I am sure that that would empower many. I am happy. I've been announcing this before, but I am going to be doing daily special shows for this event, aside from the Coffee and Headlines. And I'm already talking to some of my friends of the community. For example, my friend Juan Pablo, who is a local gay actor, who's part of a theater company, he's going to come and have a panel discussion with me about gay theater in Mexico,
Oh,
and
perfect.
and how
Yeah.
his company chooses to produce and perform plays that have something to do with the gay community, and of course, um, how this type of performance affects some of the younger generations who have never even had the pleasure of witnessing something like this. I will throw in a quick anecdote. My friend Juan Pablo is part of a local production called Princesas Desesperadas, or Desperate Princesses, which is about four Disney princesses that get together 15 years after Happily Ever After to brainstorm how life has treated them. And of course, it's
Oh
performed
my
by
gosh, I love it.
it's performed by four guys. And what a lot of the people that are watching may not know is that they were invited to perform in Yelapa, south of Puerto
What?
Vallarta. So just to think about, number one, why Yelapa would invite a queer performance like that. And number two, what was the reaction of parents, children, mothers, young gays, boys or girls, to that kind of cultural experience, is something that has
Yeah.
enormous value. So,
Yeah, it's such a good platform. The stream that you'll be doing, the opportunity that people have to come on and share, um, they're coming up, they're coming out, their story.
Of course.
The world needs more storytellers.
And let us not forget, I mean, I'm bilingual and I am a huge advocate of Spanish. After all, this is our country, our language, et cetera, et cetera. And even though coffee and headlines is in English, have chosen to broadcast in Spanish in half of my performances. Are you getting enough of a response from Spanish speaking groups or bars or organizations, or do you need an extra push? How is that going?
An extra push is always welcome. We do have several Spanish speaking, singing, performing that are already coming on board, but I wouldn't say that there's enough yet. We need more.
Well, we're definitely going to be helping that initiative. Let me take a quick look. There's a couple of questions and comments that are relevant, starting with Ted Peterson, who asks, he's a close friend of Nina Goodhope, who's a wine seller, and he's interested in the virtual approach. This is an important question because, for example, this is someone who wants to put something together with a wine distributor who is not gay, but has been very close to the gay community and has supported a number of LGBT fundraisers. Is there a hard boundary? I mean, is this, you have to be gay or lesbian to participate, or how does that work?
No, I think that if you are part of the LGBTQ community in Puerto Vallarta, that it's important that you come on board. Whether you identify as gay or lesbian or trans or questioning, or cisgender, it doesn't actually matter. You're a friend and an ally, then everyone is welcome.
Okay, let's see if we have anything else. We have a nice comment from Alain Perrault. Virtual Pride was the next natural thing to happen. I am intrigued, he says. Alain is the producer of Desperate Princesses, this show that I was telling you about. So hopefully he will get his actors together and they will do some kind of Zoom or panel discussion of what it's like to, wear Disney heels and and take the show to other places. Let's see. Gayoff says, so awesome. It takes me back when you could walk through a pride market and enjoy the diversity of what the vendors had to offer. Absolutely. I remember going to some prides in which you would be able to connect with artisans and so forth and so on. Roger Allen comments, so glad. Good morning, Paco. So glad you had Mandy on today to explain. Gracias. Let's see. Joey from the Gay Guide says, thank you for involving the community in this event. Alain adds, Mandy, you are a breath of fresh air. LGBT activism, information sharing, and teaching need a serious injection of energy. With the younger generation here, I can only think about how the Sheraton Hotel incident was swept under the carpet without any real noise made over there. Thank you. We'll talk about the Sheraton incident at some other point, unless anybody starts making comments and wants to hear more about it. That was unfortunate, but shit happens. Gary Green says, great job, Mandy. Thanks for spearheading this important project. Paul Chris asks, will there be shows from local performers?
There will be. There are plenty of local performers, a few that will be streaming from outside of the Puerto Vallarta area. And do you want a couple teasers? But we have, let's see, Michelle Giglia, Songs from Paris. I think many of you probably know Michelle. And Hotel Murillo, they will be doing the Burgers, Beers, and Boys, ending kind of the whole week with at 4 o'clock. That will be the 14th. We have dance classes. We have 2 different dance classes coming on board. There's high tea with the Queen. Can anyone guess where that's happening?
I'm not gonna guess.
At Reina's.
Okay.
With Marco. And Angel's Boutique is going to be running a fashion show. So they're on Lazaro Cardenas. And let's see. Oh, Ryan Donner is going to be doing a real estate tour. He's a local realtor.
Fantastic.
I could go on.
No, this is awesome. So, do you still have slots available? Like, what
Yes,
percentage of
definitely.
slots do you still have available?
I would say we're probably about 50% full right now.
Okay. So, people that want to participate would simply get in touch with you through the Facebook group page?
Please, through the Facebook book page, or if we can leave a link in here, you can email to pvvirtualprideweek@gmail.com.
Okay, I'll make sure to share
If,
that information with the show notes. One question, Mandy, and this is only because I'm sure that some people are going to be thinking about this. Um, Parents are protective of their children. Communities are protective of themselves. And when I say communities, I'm talking a small group of people, a country, a heritage. I am sure that more than one person out there is wondering, why is this straight woman married with two kids spearheading such a queer event?
um, I guess the only answer is that I spend a lot of time in Puerto Vallarta, 2 to 4 months a year, I would say. And a large portion of that time is with the LGBTQ community. And that's always been part of my life, truly. I am a straight woman. I am married. I am not a citizen of Puerto Vallarta, but I am a friend and an ally. And I think that if we can come back to the what an ally truly is. It's like I link arms with you, whether that's we're walking down the street to grab happy hour or we're standing up for a bully on the playground. And I use my quote fingers when I say that.
Well, sometimes a breath of fresh air comes from the most unexpected places. Mandy, is there anything else that we're missing here? Actually, Rita asks a very important question. Will there be a schedule of events available? I'm sure at some point you're going to close the door and put out a complete calendar of events. Is that correct?
Yes, it will be. Right now, I'm working on continuing to fill the schedule. And once it's about 75%, we'll be posting a nice readable PDF that you can download and print off for yourself. Or you can just come on and scan, and I'll leave it as a file on the group so that it's easy to get to and read.
Well,
And
Mandy,
I shouldn't say I. That is totally on part of Joss Siva Public Relations and Green Strategy ORM.
oh my goodness, one of the most
I
valuable lessons.
cannot take credit.
One of the
Yeah.
most valuable lessons I ever learned when I was working at Vallarta Lifestyles as a managing editor. And I didn't used to do this intentionally, but I remember that when I was having conversations with people and doing the PR, I frequently said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, et cetera, et cetera. And one day somebody pulled me over, and kind of like when your buddy tells you, hey, dude, we're out on the street and your fly is open.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me, you know what? It's we're gonna do. And to this day, it's real funny because I'm a one person operation, and I always make sure to say we, just to make sure that everybody is happy. Mandy, I am
I'm
so.
learning as I go.
Oh, yeah, we are all. Don't hold it against you. And I'll have you know that some important news that you may already know, but I want to share this with you and everybody else that is watching. Number one, there are precedents for multiple people organizing multiple events around one cause. One of the most notable that comes to mind is the famous Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland, which was started in 1947. Well, that first year, for whatever reason, a handful of theater companies were not invited to participate, and they were like, that's okay, we'll put on our own little thing. And 50, 60 years later, the Edinburgh Festival and the Fringe Festival live side by side next to each other, and they're both extremely successful. So will this ever become a unified event or not is not important. What's important is that we're doing it now. And something else that's important to know, and this is not for the sake of button pushing, this is just for the sake of clarity. There is no such thing as an official gay pride. organization in Puerto Vallarta. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that. There is an international website that is an umbrella organization for all the gay prides in the world. And I did some homework this morning because I was curious. The only two gay prides that are officially registered under the worldwide umbrella organization are the ones in Guadalajara and Mexico City. So again, whether Puerto Vallarta can or should have one gay pride or two gay prides or three gay prides is not the point, in my opinion. The point here is that we're giving everybody, or your team is giving everybody, an opportunity to toot their own horn, and I think that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, there's one pride that's sort of happening and many events that fall under that, and I think that there's room enough for everybody.
That's fantastic. Mandy, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you have an
Thank
awesome
you.
rest of the day. And I'll make sure to keep track of whatever additional questions come in and share them with you as we move forward.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And that was Mandy McPherson. So exciting to have a little bit of clarity regarding all these events that are going on. Um, It is 10:58. I still have a bunch of headlines to share with you regarding important new measures that are being taken in Mexico surrounding COVID-19 pandemic. So I would like to invite you to stay put as we move forward through some of these things that were announced this morning. Uh, for starters, as I promised, the government decided that they will start a new, what they're calling a traffic light of normality, in which activities are going to be progressively um, resumed throughout the country. And this is going to be done with this little a diagram that I will zoom into in a second so that you can appreciate how this works. But the bottom line, what you want to know is that the first thing that is going to happen is a number of municipalities that have been designated as municipalities of hope are going to be the first ones to be reopened. And this will happen later on in this month during between 18 and 31 of May. And then after that, all the rest of the country will continue to reopen in a staggered way. Let me switch over to the next news item so that you can get a closer look at this graphic because let's see. Oh no, I don't have the graphic on this one, but this one tells us that the Hope municipalities will open first. Oh, this tells us essentially the same information as I told you already. But what we have is this new diagram, and I see, where is the diagram? I'm trying to zoom into this so that I can show it to you, and I am failing miserably. Um, I thought I had it here. Let's see. Well, you can sort of see it here. It's not very clear, but the first part up here indicates, there we go. There is a red zone, an orange zone, a yellow zone, and a green zone. And the top section has to do with um, measures that have to do with public health and work and the different stages in which you're going to be able to spend time. You're going to be able to resume activities in those areas. Then there's the work related area, which indicates whether only the essential work is going to be allowed or the essential and reduced industry work and so forth and so on. Then there's a category that relates to public spaces and when they're going to be opened. And lastly, how do we handle, I'm sorry, how do we handle vulnerable people that are in vulnerable situations like the elderly or people that have chronic diseases? And last but not least, what happens with schools and when it's time to reopen them? Um, so this is how the government is going to be deploying this activity. Of course, this doesn't begin to get into what happens. But they haven't specified which are the municipalities that are considered the municipalities of hope yet. We don't know yet which ones they're going to be that are going to be allowed to open first and foremost. But I assume that more information will be forthcoming in the next few days. Um, then, meanwhile, we see this press bulletin, this press release, I'm sorry, that was sent out by the hotels in Riviera Nayarit, and they announced that they are starting to reopen during the month of June, and there is a whole list of hotels in Riviera Nayarit that are going to open, and pretty much all the large chain hotels in Riviera Nayarit have announced that they're going to open on the 1st of June. Of course, this doesn't take into account what the official position is going to be, or maybe they know something that us as a general public don't know yet. And of course, this does not take into account either what the position is of the public. I mean, we know that they want to open. We're still not sure whether we're ready to go and start taking vacations or not. I would be curious to hear some of your comments as to whether you are going to be, booking tickets immediately as you move forward. Um, Separately but related, the Secretary of Education, Moctezuma Barragan, has announced that schools will not resume labor and activities until it is safe and the traffic light that is going to be used to direct all these returns to normality is all green. So if you have kids in school, if you are a teacher, you will not be expected to go back and have in-person classes yet. Of course, there's been all kinds of online alternatives offered by public and private schools. So hopefully, students are going to continue to be able to obtain their education, which is so important. I also have two headlines related to restaurants, and I find both a little bit spooky, but I'm supposed to share the news and not so much my opinion. But local restaurants are hoping to have restrictions eliminated. The current restriction is that only 50% of the capacity of each restaurant can be used. 50 people or 50% of their capacity. And what restaurants are saying is, no, we want more than 50%, and we're going to promise that we're going to test um, frequently, and we're going to promise that we're going to be very good about keeping everything really, really clean and so forth and so on. Of course, this does not take into account two very important facts. Number one, there is no public testing available or widespread testing available. So, for a restaurant to say, well, we're going to be testing randomly, restaurants don't have access to tests that I know of. I could be wrong. And of course, the second aspect of this is, again, as a patron, would you be inclined to go and have a meal at a restaurant that is jam packed or not? I mean, I love Tacos Panchos on Basilio Vadillo, but would you want to go to Tacos Panchos when it's jam packed and people are sitting so close to one another? Food for thought. I mean, maybe it's too soon to answer these questions, but I'm certainly thinking about them as I move forward. Then there's this other creepy choice that I read about. There is a restaurant in at the inn at Little Washington, a Michelin three-star restaurant in Virginia that is planning to open with 50% capacity, but they're going to put mannequins in their restaurant, and just so that the restaurant looks like it is fuller than it actually is. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be more troubled by sitting at a half empty, half full restaurant, or if I'm going to be more troubled by dressed up mannequins that are pretending to be eating all around me. I feel like all of a sudden I will find myself in an American Horror Story episode, and I don't find that very comforting. I wonder if you do. Boeing has predicted that a major US airline will fold this year, and it says that it will take 3 to 5 years for the industry to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. There are some interesting numbers attached to this article, so I encourage you to read it if you're interested in airline travel. And I'm going to Oh, I'm starting to see some of your snarky comments and I'm loving them. But I'm going to move through the headlines because we're going a little longer than usual. I just want to make sure that I share some of these other things with you. Broadway um, fans should know that Broadway as an industry is not planning to reopen until Labor Day or likely beyond that. And again, there is some additional interesting information about what the different productions are on hold and so forth and so on. As always, I will leave you the 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 web addresses so that you can consult this on your own time. Oh, this is absolutely funny. You often hear me talking about not being able to play music on this show because I don't have the rights to it. And the very short explanation of that is if I broadcast a song by Barbara Streisand, well, I don't own the song, so I don't have the right to broadcast it. So if I put something on YouTube, YouTube is very adept at finding commercial music, and it'll immediately mute your video and 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 mark your account. And eventually, if you get enough strikes, your account is deleted. Um, Facebook is not as strict yet, but Facebook is starting to increase the strictness with which they impose this. But the reason I bring this up is that for Mother's Day, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador sent congratulations to other mothers of Mexico along with his wife. And his broadcast included a song by Juan Gabriel called Amor Eterno. Well, guess what? The copyright gods got on his back and his video was muted uh, on YouTube. So the reason I bring this up is because you should know that it happens to the best of us. Of course, this apparently was a case of a misunderstanding between the Mexican Union of Music Rights Publishers, or whatever it's called, and Sony Music International, who actually holds on to the rights of Juan Gabriel's music. Um, I see that Rita Myers is thinking about party dolls, but we won't get into that just yet. I'm going to use it as a segue to my next funny news item, and this has to do with Funko Dolls. I don't know if you're familiar with these dolls. Funko is a company that makes fan vinyl dolls in limited editions. Some of them are real people, some of them are movie characters and so forth and so on. For example, one of my favorites, one that I would actually pay money for, is the Devil Wears Prada one because I love the movie and I love Meryl Streep and the floor that she steps on. Why am I mentioning this? Well, because now, believe it or not, you can go out and get your own Hugo Lopez Gatell Funko doll as a collectible. And trust me, they are selling like pancakes. No, I'm not going to buy one. They're like 700 pesos. But isn't that funny that Mexico Czar? I wonder if Anthony Fauci is going to get um, his own doll as well. I have two more items before we get into quick comments. One of them has to do with this article that talks about the Shakespeare Globe. We've talked about the Shakespeare Globe in the past and all the different broadcasts that they share. So I'm going to share this in the links so that you can have access to it. And last but not least, I am also going to share the links to this Interpride website, which is again the nonprofit umbrella organization that oversees or coordinates all the gay pride efforts around the world. And now, because you're still with me and I'm incredibly grateful for that, I'm going to take a quick look at your comments and whip out whatever is relevant so that we can all continue with our wonderful day. Um, let's see. Um, Patches will, with opening dates still unknown, we make sure that when we are safe to open, we will do so with care and consideration as to the safety of our staff and patrons. This must come first, or we are going to go through this all over again. Absolutely right. And this brings a very interesting point, and this is something that has been going on to one effect, to one level or another here in Puerto Vallarta. There are some people who feel um, it is their responsibility to shame and police everybody that is not following guidelines. And I understand that to a certain level. on the one hand, there is this notion that we should mind our own business. But then, unfortunately, the nature of the COVID-19 virus is that you can be spreading it not knowing. So it is a touchy situation. But I'm glad that most people are thinking about everybody's health and protection first and foremost. I see that Paul is going to order his mannequin. I think that's crazy. I don't think you should do that. Kathleen says it's sad about Boeing. I actually don't think that Boeing was referring to themselves as being the ones that are going to fold. Boeing said that they think at least one airline is going to, and this must be based on some of the numbers that they have for traffic in general. Let's get together and buy in bulk. If we're talking mannequins, you guys amuse me and frighten me at the same time, and I love you all for that. Um, and this was our show. I'm sorry we had a couple of signal interruptions here and there, but sometimes the internet is friendly, sometimes it isn't. As always, I thank you so much for sticking around, and I thank you for supporting the production of these live streams. It is something that makes me extremely grateful and extremely happy. You empower me to continue to provide a useful service to the community by looking for these headlines, by coming up with articles and things. I should be ready to announce my schedule for the virtual Gay Pride event in a few days. I'm working on some really interesting things. Again, some of my content will be in English, some of my content will be in Spanish, and whenever possible, if we're going to be doing any kind of pre-recorded segment, I will be happy to subtitle so that everybody can be in the game. I'm also happy to report that I will be producing the live streams for Hotel Mercurio. Hotel Mercurio is like a family to me. It is not unknown to you, as this comes up constantly. Paul is one of my dearest friends in the world ever, ever, ever. So I will be very happy to partner with Hotel Mercurio in producing their two live streams. Hotel Mercurio will actually go live during the week twice. And last but not least, while a lot of organizations and individuals are going to be live streaming during virtual Gay Pride to benefit themselves, I am not going to be asking for donations for myself. I'm going to be asking for donations for the employees at Hotel Mercurio, again, because Hotel Mercurio is my family in more ways than one. And I've always been grateful for the many friendships that I've made there, and the service that I've always received at the hotel. Needless to say, my coffee and my Buy Me a Coffee fund continues to operate here at Coffee and Headlines. And as always, I am so very, very happy to do this and to see you. And that's all we have for today. I thank you so very much for joining me. Please stay tuned. Tomorrow morning we come back with more news and headlines. And if all goes well, Friday, we're going to talk pet adoptions with Candace Shaw. She's promised to come live to tell us about the importance of helping either adopt pets or mule pets north of the border. I know for a fact that living by myself, I my life would be absolutely horrible if I didn't have my kitty cat by my side. But anyhow, Friday we're going to be joined by Candace Shaw. She's going to tell us all about her experience finding homes for pets and being a foster mom and so forth and so on. So as soon as we have the promotion ready, I will share it with you. Meanwhile, stay healthy, stay happy, stay sane, stay creative, be kind to one another, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us.